Hey everyone. So today on Working with Our Hands, we're working on the computer. So today we're covering a little bit more of what we covered in the last video, which was pivot tables and working with Google Sheets, specifically with pivot tables. And today's task or today's exercise is creating your own pivot table. And specifically, what looks like we're going to be covering in this task is, let's see, you can perform a wide range of analysis tasks with pivot tables to quickly draw meaningful insight from your data. So we're going to be drawing meaningful insight from our data, specifically using including performing calculations, sorting, and filtering the data. So we're going to be performing calculations, sorting, and filtering data. Below is a list of online resources that will help you learn about performing basic calculations in the pivot tables. So we're going to need these resources. Google Sheets, create and use pivot tables. It's just a guide. This is a quick how-to guide. Save and reference. Yeah, I'll save it later. All about calculated field and pivot tables. It's a guide to calculated fields in Google Sheets. That one's going to be useful later. Pivot tables in Google Sheets. This is the beginner's guide. This beginner's guide covers the basics of pivot tables and calculated fields in Google Sheets and uses examples and how-to videos. Looks like all three of them are going to be useful. For performing calculations. And then the next one is for sorting data. Customize a pivot table. This guide focuses on sorting pivot tables in Google Sheets. How to sort pivot table columns. This detailed guide uses real data to demonstrate how the sorting process of Google Sheets pivot tables will work. How to sort pivot tables. That's pretty easy. Pivot table ascending and descending orders. Next is filter your data. Customize a pivot table. Yeah. So when I go into pivot table, on the bottom, you can add the filters. This is a useful resource if you're working with pivot tables in Google Sheets and need a quick resource to review the process. Filter multiple values in pivot table. This could be helpful. This resource expands some of the functionality that you already have learned and sets you to create more complex filters in Google Sheets. Definitely. I'm going to save this one. Format your data. This Help Center article provides information about how to edit a pivot table to change its style and group data. Pivot tables are a powerful tool that you can use to quickly perform calculations and gain meaningful insight into your data directly from the spreadsheet file you are working on. Yeah, the key is to perform quick calculations and gain meaningful insight. Just quick. The pivot table by using the pivot tables to calculate, sort, and filter your data, you can immediately make high-level observations about your data that you can share with your stakeholders in reports. Exactly. But like most tools we have covered in this course, the best way to learn is to practice. This is just a small taste of what you can do with pivot tables, but the more you work with pivot tables, the more you will discover. The actual activity. Okay. So in this activity, you will navigate an example of a workplace scenario where you will create a pivot table to answer stakeholder questions and visualize data. By the time you complete this activity, you will be able to apply pivot tables in your own analysis projects. This will enable you to draw insight and create reports directly from your spreadsheet, which is important for your career as a data analyst. Review the following summary. Complete the step-by-step instructions. You are a data analyst working with a filming company. The company is trying to identify what genre of film they should make next. In order to help them make this decision, your manager has asked you to answer the following questions. So in order to help them make this decision, your manager has asked you to answer the following questions. On average, how much money do movies make in each genre? On average, how much money is spent on a movie broken by genre? On average, which genre has the most profitable movies? So how much money do movies make in each genre? How much money is spent on a movie broken up, divided up by genre? And which genre is the most profitable? Has the most, yeah, which genre has the most profitable movies? I believe it's this one already. For this exercise, you will use Google Sheets. First, you need to generate your pivot table. So I'm in movie data, and I know that I'm going to want to insert a pivot table based on this sheet, or this table. So we're in movie data, A1 through N509, grabbing all the data, new sheet. Create, that's right. In this newly created sheet, I select rename and rename sheet summary. All right. The pivot tables, it's already open. Green pencil to open the pivot table editor. Find the average amount of money movies make in each genre. The average amount of money movies make in each genre. So seems like it's gonna be a group by genre and then the money next to it. Yep. Exactly. So first the genre. That's gonna be our rows. And then the average amount of money by these genres. So we have all the genres in the second column. I'm assuming it's going to be box office revenue. Let's see, what did we do? Columns. Ah, right. That's correct now. We'll change that to currency as well. Not the whole column. 38633, okay. 369375. Alright, so that was it. It was supposed to be values, not columns, and it was summarized by average, because that is what we want, not the average for the genres. Now that you have broken down average box office revenue by genre, next up is find the average amount of money spent on each movie in each genre. The average amount of money spent on a movie in each genre. So it'd be divided by the amount of movies per genre for that average. Oh, budget. Yeah, by budget. Okay, so you want to add another value, budget, average. Now that we have the average, revenue, and budget broken down by genre, find the genre that is most profitable on average. So I feel like I would be making another column to find the most profitable genre, which would be budget, or box office minus budget. Let's see. Yep, make a calculated field. And then, like I said, I wanted the box office average revenue minus the average budget. I want to see if there's any way if I can just. It's not going to. that's why. The actual name for the formula has to be correct. So the average, and then where it's pulling the data from is that first sheet, movie data, right here. So box office revenue, and then it has to be in parentheses and it has to be closed out. The actual name, that sheet is like that. Alright, so it needs then it needs to be in the parentheses as well. Or not the parentheses, the brackets. Okay, it's minus. We want to minus this one. Right. Should be it. So 18, 1, 2, 3, 5, 40. Box office revenue minus budget, average. Oh. Let's see. Just gonna copy and paste. Interesting. I forgot to hit custom. That's why. Summarizing by sum. Okay. That looks better. Alright. Select cell D1 in your summary table and enter average profit. Visualize your data. Alright, here's where we're going to put the pivot. Make the actual pivot table? Question mark? And charts. Okay, cool. Tables provide useful information, but visualizations can be even more effective for communicating data insights. Select any cell in your pivot table, insert, and select chart. Alright. This creates a chart in the same worksheet as your pivot table. Now move the chart to the side of your table, select the chart. Okay. Left select in the chart, and while holding your cursor, drag the cursor next to your table. Next, set up your chart. In the chart editor, navigate to setup. In the setup window, change the chart type to bar chart. Under series, select the three dots on the right of the average budget. Under series, select the three dots to the right of average budget. And remove. Okay, let's see. Okay. So it's going to take off the red one, the average budget, but it's still connected to the data from this table. So now we got average box office revenue and average profit. Okay. Under series, select the three dots to the right of average profit, select remove. So average box office revenue only. So the profit and budget was moved, so we can just retitle that. Next, customize your chart. In the chart editor, navigate to customize. Under the chart and axis titles, select chart title, change okay, by genre. Now you have a visual box office revenue for genre. The graph you created displays genre in alphabetical order. However, if you're interested in knowing which genre garners the highest average box office revenue, you want to sort the data from highest to lowest. You can do that sorting. You can do that by sorting the information in the pivot table. To do this, open the pivot table editor. Sorting the information in the pivot table. So we go to the pivot table. We wanted to sort it by revenue. Box office revenue, right? Descending. So right, pretty sure that's the way. Open pivot table editor. In pivot table editor, go to genre 1 in your rows and update these settings. Row. I went into genre. Sort by drop down average revenue. And then it was ascending, and I want a descending. Correct. So, descending from adventure. Excellent, excellent. Notice that there may be a grand total, which doesn't appear to fall in the middle of your sorting. That's okay. This is because it's the totals across all genres. You can choose to remove this by going back into your pivot table editor in your row section and uncheck show totals box. Okay. So we'll go back into here, the pivot table editor, and it should be, I see right there, show total. So if we click it, should be a show total there. There it is. Grand total. Okay. Adjust your pivot table to include information about directors. Use Director 1 field instead of genre. So we want to change, instead of genre, we want it to be Director 1. And sort by let's see. Which director had the highest average box office revenue? Okay. Ascending, show totals. Okay, so it's still pulling the same data that I needed, which is the highest average box office revenue, but specifically now per director. because we added a row for directors. It's pulling the information from the main sheet. Wow. How can using pivot tables directly in the spreadsheet help you analyze data in the future? And what are some of the benefits of being able to summarize data directly in your spreadsheet? I already took the liberty of writing it down, but being able to use pivot tables directly in the spreadsheet, I can easily compare data, perform calculations, and generate reports like bar charts, just like we practiced. And then what are some of the benefits of being able to summarize the data directly in the spreadsheet? Almost the same. Some benefits for being able to summarize the data is being able to make a sense of larger data set, the whole thing, by being able to filter it down and break it down to understandable and manageable figures. And this helps by speed and with speed and efficiency, because of the pre-built-in features, like being able to quickly create a bar chart. I can easily create a bar chart and a report and easily respond to the stakeholder questions. So yeah, I can definitely see how this can be very useful to get the data, a large data set, break it down into more understandable and easier figures, and then going a step further and changing that into an actual bar chart or an actual report. That way we can actually bring something to the stakeholders. They can actually see, okay, yeah, XYZ answers to ABC questions.
Everyone, so thanks for coming to hang out with me today at Working with Our Hands. And if you liked this video, remember to hit the like button and subscribe. That way you can get notifications when I drop a new video.